Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on managing security challenges with distributed teams. I'm Jackie King with the marketing team, and I'm here to get us started today. This webinar is being presented by Dolores Rizafa, Head of Inside Sales, and JD Burke from our Sales Engineering team. Both Dolores and JD have years of experience not only in information security, but also with geographically dispersed teams that work from home. Dolores, would you like to say hi?
Yes, hello, Jackie. Thank you for that. And thank you, everybody, for attending the webinar. Welcome. I'll be talking later on.
Okay. And JD, are you there?
I am. I'm the good-looking one.
Now let's take a quick look at the agenda for today.
Okay, thank you, Jackie, for that. So, and like I said, thank you, everybody, for joining us on our webinar today. Today's agenda, we're going to be actually looking at how we can manage security challenges with a distributed workforce. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is identifying the weak spots of working with remote workers or distributed teams, learn how to address these challenges, defend yourself from both internal and external security threats, secure your business with efficient processes that we'll recommend and give you some ideas of what to actually look out for, and also alleviate financial challenges that we're encountering at this specific moment in our time, and security stresses as well related to these financial challenges. So to get started, let's look at how to work with distributed workforce. So working with a distributed workforce is not new or unique to many of us. It could be something that has been partly done previously in your company. A certain sector of workforce could be working remotely, whereas the rest of them have been in the office, and you could have quite a mixture of different systems set up. Kiuwan, for example, we're a member of the IDEA family, which includes Travis CI, TestRails, Assembler, and lots of other products. And we work with many employees across the globe, spanning multiple time zones. And when I'm talking about multiple time zones, I'm actually here in Barcelona, Spain, Europe. JD is actually in the US, so is Jackie. We've got other members of our team in Austria. We have in Italy, France. We work with India. We've got partners in Australia. As you can see, we're globally distributed. Which means that when one is waking up, the others go into bed. So managing that kind of a different time zone is very challenging at times, at the best of times. So we're speaking multiple languages as well. The common is English is the most common language between everybody, but and we have a mixture of cultures and backgrounds, etc. So even though that we have years experience in managing a wide variety of different profiles and in different environments, I personally have been working remotely for over 10 years and in an international market, which means I have been working different time zones for those 10 years. I do find myself, and Kiuwan itself as well, has come under encounter new challenges with the recent epidemic times that we're living through at the moment. Having said that, more and more of these of your organizations have to deal with remote workers, not only because of the recent working conditions, but also because you might have an acquisition of the company and therefore you're more globally scattered, or a new management has decided that remote working is going to be the way moving forward for you. In whichever area, and whatever reasons you have counted, now you have a distributed workforce, remote workers, you are encountering new challenges, okay? So more companies are concerned about their security once your teams and your employees leave your local network. And taking laptops home or computing with them also brings new security challenges that you need to address. There's just no saying what could happen and what impact your company has to endure once your local workers are now working remotely. So furthermore, how do you make sure that your developed products, like the change request or your application, especially if you're working in the IT environment, how do these still maintain secure and working with your team if there's no supervision, because they're all scattered, okay? And efficiency of the workload is also part of the security or the challenges that you are facing. So especially now that working from home is unavoidable for so many, and it's going to be so for some time now, and it could end up being the new norm that everybody's talking about, it is crucial to learn how to manage security challenges that may arise when working with distributed teams. In today's webinar, we are going to be taking some time to talk about some of these differences and challenges and situations introduced with a distributed workforce. We'll talk about some of the ways to address these challenges, touch on some of the internal and external threats that as we mentioned, is in the agenda, and we'll end up wrapping it up with some thoughts about the challenges to your business processes and emerging threats like financial stresses caused by the security issues and remote workers with the new work environment that we're facing right now. So moving on, what we're actually going to be also discussing is the difference between how we were previously, up until 2 months ago, working, where most of us could actually choose between working from the office and the security we felt by having a local co-located workforce and its ability to reduce threats and stresses with predictable stabilities, stable processes. You knew and you were able to control the workflow that you were working with within your office or your local environment. And now we have, and those benefits are no longer going to be available for you. So when we had our workforce all under the one roof, or maybe one or two of networks, okay, but mostly all controlled and very securely tied in, we were able to exercise certain control over the devices that our workers were using, like corporate laptops, workstations, what applications they were using. From the whitelisted App Store, for example, you could actually knew exactly what was being used within your site or your offices, complete with permission controls that you could implement and endpoint protections, lock it all down, and you could actually run a virus scan through whenever you consider it appropriate. And you had it all controlled, monitored in a corporate network. For example, with 1G Cat 6 with lockdown ports and MAC access control. So you were actually in full control of what actual hardware and software you had in your workforce was actually using. And all this with the security that you're behind barge doors with a strict receptionist, could be a virtual receptionist or it could be an actual receptionist that was very, very good at keeping out visitors or unwanted guests, we want to call them, okay? All that nice clean scenario where you felt secure has all gone. It's gone, it's moved, and the ground is shaking under you. So now we have the epidemic era, and all of a sudden everybody's been told, stay home, work from home, work remotely, and no more offices. Even if we are going to be allowed back into the office at some future date, it's all going to be very, very different. And the high recommendations is that if you can work from home, stay home. So we now have a distributed workforce, remote workers, and all of a sudden we don't have any of those benefits of a co-location protection and comforts that we so much relied on previously. Some of the security concerns in the epidemic area are the same as the pre-epidemic area. For example, you had a disgruntled employee, or employee exfiltration of data, or an ex-employee could sabotage your network. And these concerns are still as valid as they were before, and they are still now. But now you've got extra concerns that you have to deal with. And at the same time, there's also the issue of a financial stress that you also have to deal with, because you've been in lockdown and probably your business has to had huge reductions as well. How do we protect from data theft nowadays and manage any disgruntled employees that we don't even know they're disgruntled because we're not even seeing them? That is still the same as before, with extra efforts that you have to implement now. So at the moment, we also need to consider whether an employee is where previously they were at their corporate desk and you can control the use of any Wi-Fi equipment or any applications they were downloading. Now there's no actual being able to see what they are downloading or what they're not downloading and what kind of environment they are actually using. So we're feeling we're in totally unknown territory, and how to actually get some control or get some information is going to be the key factor that we're going to be actually having to look at nowadays. So what other challenges and dangers are we also going to be facing? Well, some of them are going to be pretty obvious for you. So for example, we don't now actually know what control, or we don't know and we can't control what devices our employees are using, or what access corporate resources they are using, okay? We don't actually know if they are on a hard line or a Wi-Fi, if that Wi-Fi is a home router or a coffee shop or the local grocery store. Hopefully not, because they're supposed to be in lockdown and they're supposed to be at home. But are you sure about that? We don't know what type or the quality or the versioning of the hardware between your employees and the corporate edge. It's something that we now no longer control. And we don't know what quality of network they are using. So they could be using an over-described DSL line, a mobile hotspot of 4 gigabytes, or a satellite internet that is totally open to the public. You don't have any of this visibility. You don't know. Then there is the change and the change of the workflows and the processes that you need to implement with the distributed teams. The team is in the different time zones most of the time. For example, we have team members that because of the lockdown, they've gone back home. So whereas they were originally working in our offices in Florida, they could now be gone back to California, for example. So they've changed time zones. That's an easy one, by the way, okay? It's when you're actually moved back from one country to another because your work visa's expired and you have to go home because of these epidemic times. You actually need to actually figure out a way to have that worker be able to deliver his workflow within the time that you can actually meet up with them or coordinate conference calls with them. These are all challenging as well, okay? So whereas before we used to be able to actually sit down on a coffee table and discuss ideas over coffee, or write down an action plan on a whiteboard and give clarification when we saw that someone was not understanding what we were discussing or talking about, that's also changed drastically and it's added another complication onto the management of a distributed team. I actually highly recommend that you take a second or two and consider what you want to put in process for your business. For example, here in Kiuwan, we use Hangouts most of the time. We go to meetings when we're actually connecting to customers or clients. Hangouts, we use it internally for our team. It helps us be very much in contact on a daily basis. and gives you the opportunity to have a camera, web camera, where you still feel connected. And if you're the one that's actually delivering a presentation, or you're running a meeting or with your team, be able to actually see their faces and their reactions is also going to be very important. It maintains that continuity and connection with your team. That's going to be very, very critical for you to be able to manage them. Okay, so this we were used to, and we need to find a way that the business can still run applications like this. You have to decide which one's going to be the best fit for your business, and make sure that everybody is in agreement to actually use that one, and specifically just that one. Being able to limit the ones that they use is also going to give you some control over what apps they're going to be downloading. So now it is all, and like I said, it's all done with Hangouts and Zoom and Skype and everything like that. But keep in mind, this opens up a totally different ballgame to intruders within your business. And it's something very, very basic that you need to take into account. And at the same time, it's something you need to consider and train your employees to consider these difficulties that we're going to be encountering in a minute. Okay, so what else is we going to be looking at? Well, some of the security concerns that are new to you because of these challenges or change in the original expectations and conditions of your workflow problems, and you're going to be actually needing to look at solutions to find these new, to cover these new security concerns. If you've never contemplated having employees or anything but under your corporate environment, then you might find that the network your workforce is using is not sufficiently secure. Okay, so if this is something totally new for you, you will probably need to consider what network you are using as a corporate network, and reconsider if that is sufficiently secure, if you're sufficiently secure with that one, or you need to actually change and move to something else. If it's not sufficiently private, like working from home with a wide network that includes lateral devices like a smart TV, a game console, which is pretty scary if you've got a teenager downloading and opening up that door to God knows who, that, and you're sharing that connection as well. Just be aware of that. Okay. Smart devices with some, security cameras, and a couple of like I said, a couple of teenagers. Teenagers are sort of like a bit dangerous when you really come to think about it. Take a minute and consider those. First of all, understand what it is, and then consider if it's valid for you, or put in a new process. But we'll look at these. And if you designed a system that works with a minimum network capacity or a minimum amount of computing, you might need to consider alternatives and work around those for the folks that are trying to work through an old laptop that might be crashing every once in a while. You might need to reinforce that laptop, or consider what other options or hardware you can actually assign to that worker, or a bloatware PC, or via network, which is horribly latent and has got jitter problems, could be affecting the efficiency of your workforce, and also the actual not only efficiency, but the expediency of the work they are doing, and alleviating or not alleviating, increasing in their stress that they're suffering just by the mere fact that they're working from home. So, and what other issues do we encounter by working from home that I've just mentioned about, very widely hinted at the stress from working from home? Well, let's look at it from a human point of view. Up until now, your employers could leave family matters and home matters at home because they were coming to an office where they could separate their personal life from their professional life. This was great because it helped them be able to concentrate on work issues while they were in a work environment. Now, all of a sudden, they're at home. Now, it might appear to be very, nice and easy to work from home, but there's new challenges from working from home that if they haven't done so before. So if they're new to working from home, they're going to probably find that their spouses are also working from home. They have no room to actually work without any distractions. If they've got a family, children, teenagers, pets, anything that could be around at the time, they need to find a physical space where they could actually do presentations, demo, meetings, webcams, videos, whatever, without interruptions, without the dog running behind them or the kids screaming at their legs and demanding their attention. These are all actual stress factors that you need to take into account with your new workforce, okay? And how to alleviate this, it's very important to give them the flexibility and the encouragement to find a way to actually organize themselves, that they probably speak to their spouse and coordinate with their spouse to say, okay, so I've got this timetable that I need to have this meeting, who's going to be doing the babysitting while I'm doing that, and switch roles as they go along. And that is obvious, okay, most of the time with new distributed teams and that are new into this new environment, new way of actually working. And the more that they are working in this process, the more they're going to feel comfortable with it. They're going to test different methods out, and they'll find out what works and what doesn't work. And that's good. Give them the space to actually be able to try things out so that they find the right balance and the right mixture. But it's also come to my attention quite recently. Obviously, I have my own space in my house because, like I said, I've been working remotely for 10 years now, and that's obviously given me time to create my own space. But sometimes with my new work employees or workers in my team that actually are new in working from home, and they open up the webcam and I see personal photos behind them, or you might actually see a notice board and hopefully not the password of their bank account, for example, or something like that. Little things like that you need to actually be able to talk to your employees about and make sure that they address these, make sure that they see what the other person's seen so that they give the same image that you want them to give of your business anyway. And one of the main things that it has drawn my attention quite, and it's quite funny, is that because we're at home, we feel that we can stay in pajamas practically all day. And it's okay if nobody's seeing us. But at the same time, if you're doing a video conference and you need to make sure that your customer still sees your business as the image that you want to transmit to them, okay? So remember, your workforce is still the image of your business. So give a couple of guidelines for them to commit to. It's always going to be very helpful for you. And one of the things that's actually caught also my attention lately is the more that we use webcams and videos and things like that, and we do presentations through internet, through different applications, I have no visibility right now at the moment on who's logging into this webinar and who's not logging into this webinar. So I don't know if there's an intruder in the webinar or not. So usually what I actually do is I have someone in my team monitor the actual presentation that I'm giving, or the webinar, or the GoToMeeting that I'm having, so that they keep track of who is actually logging in or not logging in. This is also called much to our attention because of the Zoom incident that happened a couple of months ago, where a caller that was not invited could actually log into a video call that was scheduled through Zoom. It was caller 999 or whatever number they wanted to put there, and could actually even interrupt the presentation, could ruin the presentation, could introduce unpleasant scenes on the presentation or wherever, that could be considered unfortunate, but is what is also going to be a security issue for you if that person that you don't know, that is an unknown intruder into your presentation, could actually be doing screenshots of your presentation, could actually also be copying into confidential information that you are sharing with the customer, for example. That is a huge security risk that you are running. So I highly recommend that whenever you program a presentation or a demo or a meeting of that sort, to have someone assist you with those calls and have a monitor there to help you keep track. And if they're not invited, then obviously that you can be aware of that and block them out, okay? So these are the challenges that you are coming across and your workers are coming across, and you're going to have to find ways around these challenges. So now we face a host of, like I said, we faced a host of new challenges, not only what we were doing, what challenges we had previously, but brand new ones that could be coming up on a daily basis. And what is going to be most important for you now, it's no longer what you do that counts, it's how you do it that counts. So whereas before we had workers that were actually logging into their office and you could track that they were doing your 8-hour work shift a day, for example, that doesn't count anymore. You cannot control the hours that your workers are on in front of their laptops. You can only control the tasks that are actually delivered to you by the end of the workday. So the old ways don't work anymore, and you have to find new ways of actually managing a distributed team, managing remote workers, not only from a security point of view, but also from an efficiency point of view, okay? And what you're going to, my recommendation, working with remote teams for many years, is the hours don't count. It's the tasks that you assign to them that counts. So take a minute of your time, sit down and think about what tasks are important to your team individually for each person on a daily basis. Have some metrics set up for them on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and then sit down with them and explain these metrics to them and say, okay, well, I need you to do this and this on a daily basis. I need you to do this on a weekly basis and this specific task, and put a timeline to it. Because if you assign a task to somebody, human nature is what it is. And we just, if we don't have a deadline to it, then we just keep dragging it on and on and on, okay? So this is going to take a couple of minutes of your time to actually think about it, but it's one way of efficiently managing your distributed team. So what else information? You're going to find a lot of information out there in the, you know, in blogs and studies and research that is going to help you gather information on how, what, why, and when to make security checks. But I want to simplify these a little bit for you to make sure that we cover at least the essential. And we're going to start by what I've mentioned before, which is very, very important, is to actually gain visibility. And according to this 20, and at the end of the webinar today, when we hand over the presentation of this webinar to you, you'll have a link that's actually going to, you can click on and it'll take you to this report that I actually use, which is very, very efficient. We should focus on putting some of these best practices into place, taking into account the uniqueness of your business. Why am I mentioning the uniqueness of your business? Is because no two businesses are the same. So best practices are good because they give you a general guideline, but you have to modify them and change them, particularly to fit the exclusivity of how you run your business, okay? So I would first of all start with gaining visibility. What is gaining visibility means is you need to take inventory of your hardware and software and how you control this hardware and software. Taking inventory means know what your employees' devices are, and how many malicious or suspicious networks they can connect to. So know exactly what laptop your worker has taken home, and know exactly what network he has at home that he needs to connect to. It could be it sounds like a huge task, especially if you've got a big work force, but it's critical that you know this and you keep control of this. Know, for example, how many malicious or suspicious apps your employees download via their mobile devices. If they're using corporate phones, they could be downloading apps that you don't agree with. If they're using private ones, that's really up to them. But if they're also using your laptops, they're also downloading applications that you might not be in accordance with. So you need to actually be able to manage these, and there's a very clear, some very good applications that can give you access, remote access to your employees' laptop. And you are in your right to actually have this access to them, to be able to, it's not spy on them, it's helping them also have secure work environment. Okay, so secure also the configuration for the hardware and software on mobile devices like laptops, workstations, and servers. Right. So first of all, I'd suggest make an inventory. Inventory also gives back the control in your hands to actually know. Information is knowledge is control. So the more that you know, the more that you're in control of. Okay. Next off, continuously manage the vulnerabilities and adjust according to the situations. What does this mean? This means that whatever vulnerabilities you encounter today could be totally different 1 month from now. So you need to have that flexibility and management to actually adjust to whatever the situation or the evolution of this situation means to you. That is why I strongly suggest that you have this application, that you have access, remote access to the laptops that at the end of the day, they're corporate laptops. So you need to be able to see what is on there, okay? So training workers is going to be critical for you, okay? This is a pivot point in all security processes that you put into place. You need to train your workers and let them know what is expected of them, okay? So the more that you have them working together with you as a team, the more likely of a chance you're going to be able to have security challenges met by both of you. Remember, you're working together to reach the same goal, which is being able to work in a secure environment, whether it be locally or remotely, okay? So train them to be compliant. Training means that you also need to make them understand why it's important for them to be compliant, okay? So train them on new security measures that you put into place, new policies, new processes, anything that you feel that this is the new way that you're going to be running your business. Sharing of knowledge, like I said, is going to be critical. It is going to be so important for you, mainly because your employee is not the security issue. He is part of the solution. He's not the issue. Okay, so working together as a team is going to assure you that you end up being that your processes and your policies are met, right? So continuing is you need to find the right balance. Like I mentioned before, working an 8-hour shift is not possible for you to actually be able to manage or control that now. You need to find ways of working smarter and not harder. Also, when we are actually facing at the moment now, you might have encountered that you've had to actually reduce your workforce, whereas the tasks that you actually have at the moment have increased. So how do you manage that? You need to work a little bit more intelligently and work smarter and not harder. Whereas the workload that you were actually had for a team of 3 or 4, now maybe you've got 2, and you've got to be able to share that. So set priorities for yourself and set priorities for your workforce, for your team. Okay, and make sure that those priorities are agreed upon and committed to. Okay, so you need to be able to direct your scarce resources into action by assigning tasks, like I said before, to be completed in a set period of time. And this is very important. Tasks that you understand and your work team also understands the importance from a priority point of view. And focus on additional risks unique to your businesses. Now, these additional risks unique to your businesses, it could come from all sorts of different ways. Okay, so if your business is, for example, a retail shop, and you were, I don't know, selling socks or selling clothes or selling bags, shoes, whatever, and now all of a sudden you had you had a chain of retail shops, but now it's online and everything's online. So what does that actually mean to you? It means that your applications based on online purchasing all of a sudden are overloaded. And you've got your IT team focused mainly on making sure that those applications don't crash on you and you don't miss out on customers wanting to purchase online really fast and quick. Because if they can't do it really fast and quick with you, they're going to go somewhere else. So you can't miss on something like that. Okay, so that could be a unique feature for your business, and you need to focus on putting additional measures in there. Okay, and we'll also discuss this in a little while when I'll give you another example. Develop a cyber defense strategy. Now, this is something that it's not new to any of us, right? Especially if you're in the IT environment like we are. Kiuwan, for example, is very much into, we're a SaaS solution, so we're strong, our platform's secure, making sure that applications have no security vulnerabilities. Okay, so we're that's our business. That's what we do, and we do it very well. We help our customers set up strategies, okay, from different levels. Now, to be able to do that, you need to know your world. You need to know, and knowledge, like I said before, is critical at the moment. You need to know what you're protecting, and you need to also know where your weak spots are. Don't turn a blind eye on things, okay? Be very, very aware of where you've got that door open to an intruder coming in, okay? And you might find that, for example, there's a weak spot where you weren't even aware of it before, and it is now because you've got a remote worker. I'm going to give you an example which is very real. It happened just last week, and I want to share it with you because sometimes we're not even aware of where the value of our business is until we lose it. So just a couple of days before the Spanish lockdown, I went to my optometrist, and we made a revision of my sight, and I purchased new contact lenses. So he went ahead and ordered them from the contact lens manufacturing company that he uses. Then 2 days later, we went in lockdown, and obviously I didn't chase that order or anything like that because the optometrist was closed, manufacturing was closed, and everything was closed, and I couldn't leave my house to actually go and get them anyway. So that was it. Last week, Spain alleviated some of the lockdown rules that we were under, and he could actually open. So he rang me and said, "Oh, I'm open again, pop by whenever you want to." So I dropped by under strict security measures, physical security measures like the mask, the gloves, and everything else. And And he explained to me, because I asked him, so how are my contact lenses? Have you got them yet? And he said, no. In fact, when he opened, I went on Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, but when he opened on Monday and rang the manufacturing company, he got told that they had been hacked while on lockdown, and the hacker actually deleted or extracted all their records of all their customers in the history of the company. So they had no records of any orders they had taken since the company started, the orders that they were in process of delivering, nothing whatsoever. Now, in all fairness, would you ever this manufacturing company would never have thought of that his vulnerability or his weak spot was being hacked and having this information reduced. He had security measures put in place for his factory, for his machines. He had insurance on his machines, on the fire insurance, theft insurance, robbery insurance. He had all these insurance. Did he ever think about the idea that this was where the value of his business was? So think a little bit out of the box and think, okay, what is going to hurt me the most, or what is going to hurt my business the most if I were to be hacked? And that's when you're going to have to focus and really make sure that that is secure for your business. Okay. So rapidly define a starting point for your defenses. Don't wait until tomorrow. Whatever defenses you can put up today, put them up. And tomorrow you can think about and improving on those or adding more to those. You never know when the bad guys are going to be hacking you. Okay. So don't delay whatever you decide to actually start putting into place. And practice basic hygiene. Okay, this is prior to the epidemic situation we're living now and in the future. Basic hygiene is critical for you. Control the access and the rights of your workers to your confidential information, to information that is only visible to certain people that need to have that access to that information to. Put into policy smart passwords, okay, or set these up. I know for a fact that we've got a webinar scheduled. I'm not sure whether it's next week or pretty soon, also on setting up smart passwords that will probably be easy to remember, because if you can set up smart passwords that are hard to remember and you write them down, that's it, you're gone. It's written, it's not smart anymore. Okay, so I strongly suggest that you go into and attend that webinar and find ways to actually and train your workers on actually implementing these passwords. Control, like I said, the use of admin privileges. Make sure that whoever needs to have access to that confidential information has it, but only they have it, okay? At the end of the day, that information is your business. It's the heart of your business. So make sure that who needs it has access to it, but nobody else. Maintenance and monitoring and analyzing of all audit logs is extremely important. So keep those in mind, and having put everything, putting all this in process is going to help you put the right security process in place and assuring that it's kept to. So prepare, implement, and clearly communicate a very strict security policy. And the more remote workers and distributed teams that you have, the more that this is going to be critical for you and important for your business. So make and use security policies that reflect the current situation now. Have it be flexible enough that you can adapt it. So when this current situation also changes, let's say in a month's time, you've got the actual security policies in place, but you can adapt them and modify them to be able to meet the situation you're living in a month's time or in a year's time, okay? So, and remain vigilant, wash, rinse, and repeat, not only as yourself to maintain the security of your own health, but also think of it as the security of the health of your company. So if you need to put a mask on your business and gloves on your business and disinfect your business, well, that's what you probably need to do. So having thought about all these processes and things that you need to actually take some time to reflect and make sure that you've got the right security processes in place and methodology and policies in place, I want to go into a little bit of a different, and what does this really mean as an extra stress to the financial situation of your business? Now, we all know that at the moment, the financial, from a financial point of view, you have a reduced control over your resources right now. So whereas before you can control your resources in reference to I'm paying for an 8-hour workflow, so my employees is logging in and he's working 8 hours in my office and things like that, okay? Now it's a task management workflow, okay? So think about it that way. Your numbers are going to be reflecting that in a different way. So also how to manage unplanned shift work time zones, right? So you might have an employee that's actually working a couple of hours in the morning and then a couple of hours in the afternoon because he's covering 2 different time zones. All that is going to be adding different stress factors to your financial situation. Taking into account that all businesses have been impacted, whether you're a big corporation or a medium-sized business or a really small business, you have been impacted by the current situation one way or the other. How strong you survive after this situation, it really depends on your financial situation prior to this situation and how you manage this right now and how much you actually think out of the box and you think of new ways of bringing business into you. But I'm going to give you an idea of something so basic that you probably have not thought about, but we encounter in Kiuwan, for example, on a daily basis. Now, a lot of our customers, when we're talking about big corporations, already had distributed work force, whereas they might have one IT department in India and they have another IT department in, I don't know, in the US and another one, for example, in Australia. They all work, but even if they had a distributed workforce, each of those teams were locally concentrated. Okay, they weren't working from home. They were locally concentrated but distributed. So what actually happened is, and this is happening on a daily basis, is that you, especially in the IT environment, that's where we are. Okay, we work on change requests, we work on applications and deliveries and change requests and things like this, and we give a change request to a developer who's in our team, who has a team manager who actually, you know, and he's working alongside a colleague and they're all typing away and coding away throughout the day. And they're, you know, when they finish their change request, they have it quickly checked and then they merge it into the baseline. Now that process has, you've worked on that and you know the cost of that change request because you're in control of the hours that your development team is working under. That's all shift. So now your developer is working from home. He's received his change request either way. Okay, so he's still working from home, having a change request. But now if he's got a question or he's got an answer or he needs a quick clarification of something, he doesn't have that straightaway access to his manager. So instead of bothering his manager by Hangouts or by whatever channels you are using, he keeps coding away. And at the end of the day, because he's rushing to get his work done, excuse me, he actually just merges it, the change request merges onto the baseline. Oh, excuse me. So what does this mean? It means that whatever security vulnerabilities he's accidentally created in that change request has not been checked. And that change request has merged into the baseline, it's gone through all the testing channels, and somebody at the end of the line has picked it up. Hopefully, they've picked it up. And they've come back to the manager and said, hey, wait a minute, we've got a security vulnerability here. We need to find out what it is, where the root of it is, and get it fixed. So whereas before, your developer was making the change request, the manager was actually checking it that it was cleared, putting it into the baseline, going through the testing process, and it was all done and good. Now it's gone. The developer, the manager's not been able to check it, merged into the baseline, it's gone through to production, then it's been picked up, hopefully. This is the best scenario. Hopefully it's been picked up from production, gone back to the manager and said, hey, we've got an issue here. Manager just had a look at it, take it back to the developer and say, go and get it fixed. The developer's getting it fixed and then put it back into production again, and hopefully it's cleared. Originally, what a change request would have cost you approximately 20 hours, 1 hour of your developer's time. Now it's actually cost you 200 because every other issue and task involved in that change request. If you really think about that and you say, okay, I need to really consider how to make this more efficient and less financially stressful to the outcome of the process, you're going to have to consider solutions to resolve these issues. Okay. Now, like I said before, that is the best scenario that someone's picked it up in production. But what if they haven't picked it up? What if that security vulnerability has left the door open for a hacker? What if you are that contact or glass manufacturer that all of a sudden you come into work one day and all your orders and all your customers' details have all been gone? You've been hacked and you come in one day and it's nothing there. What if that happens? Okay, so think of the worst scenario and then think on how to actually solve that scenario without having to actually add financial stresses to your business. Now, what is going to be extremely important for you right now is to have an inventory, make sure that you have all the information available to you. Sit down and write or consider processes and methods to make sure that you're secure in your business. Consider what solutions you need to implement or tools that you need to actually invest in with the financial difficulties that you are already under. So you need to make sure that those solutions or those tools are as efficient as possible to cover what you need, but economical as possible as well. Okay, so they're not going to be adding more financial stress to your business. So consider that, and then you actually put all that into action. Train your employees, get them on your side, because like I said before, they are not the security problem, they are part of the solution. And together you will be able to secure your business, put it all under as tightly as possible, and be able to overcome this epidemic situation that we're all living now. Your biggest challenge is to find a balance between well-established security policies and measures that don't add more financial stress to your business. And having said that, I've come to the end of my presentation, so I'm going to be handing it over to JD, who's going to give you his contact information and how to actually do some research, or contact him in reference to if you need any assistance in considering what security measures to put into place. Thank you, JD. It's all yours.
Excellent. Thanks. So just to recap, I think we talked about several things. One was the technological point of view. Another one was the human factors point of view. From a technology point of view, I think we talked about how you have most of the tools probably already in your organization, but some of the initial conditions and the expectations that were in place when you created those technological solutions may have changed. So where you may have thought everybody was going to be accessing your network from the building, maybe today that's not so true. And you might need to reevaluate some of the initial conditions you assumed for your controls. From a human factors point of view, we talked about how you may have an organization that rests either implicitly or explicitly on a lot of face-to-face time, water cooler talks, talking over the edge of the cube, drive-by management, that kind of stuff, that you may not have anymore, and that you may need to recreate with daily Zoom calls or lighting up a Slack channel or something like that. A deliberate, conscious effort to keep in touch with your key people. And then there's the other side, the less, or the more dark, or the less happy side of the human factors, in that some people are generating more stress or have more stress in their life with this situation than others. Some are handling it better than others. And you may have been able to see that when you walked around and talked with your person, your crew, while drinking coffee or at lunch or something like that. But now that they're working from home, you don't always see that. And then it extends even farther. Maybe your employee's fine, but their spouse is not, and they're carrying that burden as well. But generally, the summary came down to employee training is good. Knowledge is power. So keep doing more of that and maybe modify it for the current situation. Develop a defense strategy. As I say, chance favors the prepared mind. Actually, Pasteur says that, but I like to say what Pasteur says. Make and use security policies. Know your world. Where's the money? What are you protecting and why? Where should you be focusing your effort? And somewhere in there, find the right balance. Work smarter, not harder. If you have to protect something, make sure it's something of value and you're not spinning your wheels or burning cycles protecting something that's a low value. And then practice basic hygiene. This probably ties back into training, encouraging your personnel to remember the basic hygiene. So password control, access control, some of those controls, some of the protections that they enjoyed when they were in the office may not be there when they're working from home. So they have to remember that and keep aware of that, and then remain vigilant for the changes. So Kiuwan would love to extend to you an offer to talk about this more. So if you want to explore this topic in more detail, you have my coordinates right there on the webpage, on the webinar. So go ahead and send me an email or reach out to me on LinkedIn or whatever, and we can get all geeked up on these kind of security discussions, and I can give you links to other places where you can read more about it or learn more about it. There's no sales pitch involved, nothing. This is just for the good of our customers, whether you're a customer of us or not. We're not here to sell you anything. Adira would very much like you and all the other folks that have potential to use Adira products, including Kiuwan, to be going forward and doing good and safe things. So please don't hesitate to contact us. And with that, and it looks like we're right at about the top of the hour, I'll turn it back over to Dolores to take us out.
Okay, so hopefully if you've posted any questions or anything like that, I'm sure that we had some of our colleagues already answering those questions for you. If not, we'll reach out, whatever questions that are left unanswered, we'll reach out and give you that information. And like JD said, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you in any way that we can. And keep safe, keep well, and be secure. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.